Live, welcome to a One Take Podcast, episode 176. This week, we are talking about what actually may be the most popular movie in America, considering Netflix lies about their algorithm. But I think a lot of people have seen this movie, even though Tej will argue that there hasn't been a lot of discourse around. Thank you for drinking what I assume is a beer for my birthday party. Dex.
Yeah, it is actually.
Hell yeah, a little party favor on the way out. Miller Lite. Take this. We have so much alcohol at our house. It's unbelievable. I have more alcohol than I know what to do with. Anyway, this week we're talking about Hitman from Richard Linklater and writer, producer, actor of many parts, Glen Powell. Our guy Glen is here, guys. The Glenaissance is upon us.
We made it. We always knew we'd be here.
Yeah. So how we doing? We doing okay? I know we said we may do Bad Boys. Tej has some Bad Boys thoughts here in a minute.
I promise I'm not going to bog us down, but I have so many Bad Boy stuff. I have so many.
We'll do what is known as a deep tease and say that you have what I imagine is the definitive Bad Boys ranking, but also some thoughts on what you got yourself into on Twitter, which was many of people saying you have wrong and bad opinions, which, what else is new? But I just wanted to start here before we get into the film. How familiar are you with Richard Linklater's body of work? I think we all have just said before we came on, we've watched all of his popular movies, but haven't watched all of his best reviewed films, which is different from this pod. We are the popular cinema boys, but we normally watch, also all of the well-reviewed movies from a director usually, but we haven't seen the Before trilogy and we haven't seen You said you saw Boyhood, Tej.
Yes, I've seen Boyhood. I've seen Dazed and Confused. I've seen School of Rock, which apparently everybody at that time saw School of Rock, which is his biggest film.
Yeah.
I've seen, when I was going through the filmography, when you asked us right before we started recording, I realized I've seen more of these films than I thought. He is not one of my favorite filmmakers. I didn't realize how many of his films I had seen. That being said, I was extremely excited for this film, mostly because of the buzz that came out of the festivals, but also because we're in the Glenaissance, and I'm just full bore with the Glenaissance. I just like him. I just think that he's likable. He doesn't take himself too seriously, and it's fun seeing the launching point of a movie star. Obviously, he's been acting for a long time, but this is clearly his moment, and I've been enjoying that so much so that I watched Anyone But You again the same weekend I watched this film. I literally did it as a double feature, and I'm just I'm into the Glenaissance. So I was excited for this movie, despite the fact that I wouldn't say I'm a Linklater stan. I like Dazed and Confused. I think it's perfectly fine. I like Boyhood. I think it's perfectly fine. There's not a Linklater movie that's canon for me in terms of has shaped my experience as a movie boy, but I like his movies.
Dex?
Yeah, as y'all know, I'm not a big director stan in general. There's only a couple of directors who I'm really checking for most of the time. And Linklater's just not one of them. I've seen exactly 4 of his movies. 3 of them are pretty good. The other one I don't remember anything about at all. Where'd You Go, Bernadette? I saw that in theaters.
Again, you are one of the 5 people that saw that in theaters. I swear to God, it made $900,000 in the movie.
Yeah, dude, I don't remember anything about it. I remember being like, "Huh, that was okay," and just never thinking about it again. I didn't realize he directed it. Even in 2019, I was watching any fucking thing in theaters. But yeah, I've seen Everybody Wants Some. I just watched that for the first time pretty recently, and that movie actually rules.
It's incredible.
A film literally about nothing. It's great.
It's about the bros, dude.
Yeah, just guys being dudes. The Miller Lite of films. It's really refreshing. School of Rock, everyone loves. I didn't realize that movie is like a 95% or something stupid on Rotten Tomatoes. School of Rock is widely beloved.
I love Jack Black, man.
I watched it.
I love Jack Black, so that I was in the target audience when School of Rock dropped. Jack Black is fun for me.
Jack Rock.
That's a Jack Rock. Jack Black is fun, and that movie is great. But I would still put Mario ahead of School of Rock in his filmography. No disrespect. Love Mario.
But yeah, Linklater is a name that I know, and people get excited about it when he's making a new movie. So everyone was like, Glen Powell's doing a Richard Linklater thing, and I was like, you had me at Glen Powell, but Linklater sounds cool too. So shout out, we're here.
Do y'all know what Linklater's currently working on?
He is working on I think a film about the career of Jean-Luc Godard, if I'm not mistaken. But
that is one. He's also making another movie that's been everybody knows, or if you don't know, the premise of Boyhood is basically he filmed the movie over 12 years. So he had the same cast. He told the story over 12 years, and they would come back together at certain points along the 12 years and film parts of the movie. And the movie itself is over those 12 years. He's doing a 20-year one. Currently, he's filming a 20-year version of a remake of Merrily We Roll Along, which is a musical from the 30s. So he's 60 years old, and or he was 60 when he started it. He's a couple years into it, but he's going to be 80 years old when this movie is finished. And I know this because I listened to an interview with him at the New York Times. Very thoughtful guy, great interview. Talked a lot about his own mortality and how he approaches making movies. And it was just fascinating to hear a 60-year-old dude talking about, making a movie until he's 80. And he was asked a lot of questions about what happens if you can't finish it? And the guy hadn't even considered these contingencies. He literally has it he was like, I think about dying all the time, but I've never actually thought about what I'm going to do if I can't finish this movie. I don't know. Maybe I should put someone in place.
Dead. That's what
he hadn't thought about it. I just thought that was so fascinating. It's like a person that old and that respected in this industry of being like, no, I've literally never thought about it. Also, that movie has Paul Mescal in it and Beanie Feldstein. How does Paul Mescal have any time to do anything? That guy is booked as hell. The next year or so, that guy signed on to 4 fucking Beatles movies. That guy's in Gladiator 2. That guy's making a 20-year movie. How does he have any time to himself? That dude is booked right now.
All I'll say is on filming a movie for 20 years, you don't have to. That's okay.
It's also like a wild swing that the way that Hollywood works now, that none of these people are going to fuck up.
Yeah, that's the crazy part. I'm all for Paul Mescal getting more jobs. How excited are y'all to watch 4 Beatles movies? I know that's not this particular director, but I just can't believe they're making 4 interconnected Beatles films. The same guy who made 1917 is like, I'm just going to make 4 Beatles films now.
I can tell you that watching 4 Beatles films is not something I will be doing. I'm sorry.
Okay, are you going to watch any of the Beatles films? I don't care about the Beatles, but
I'll watch
I'm
at least
interested.
the first one. There's no way I'm making it to 4.
What if the first one goes crazy though? What if you watch the first one, you legitimately love it? You wouldn't watch the second one?
I don't see myself legitimately loving the first one, but I mean,
I don't either. The Beatles music is not.
There's no way I'm getting to 4.
Brayden, you're right. Are you excited about the Beatles movies?
I'm not the biggest Beatles guy on the planet. I actually really like the Rolling Stones some more than that. If I'm breaking up, y'all got to let me know. But there we go.
Okay, wait, did we lose
Christ almighty.
You were good, and then you stopped. But yeah, I'm sorry. I don't care about the Beatles, but I like a train wreck, and I feel like this is going to be a train wreck, and I have to at least be there for the first car of the train to crash off the tracks. I at least have to be there for that part of it.
The Beatles have 4 good songs, so making 4 movies out of them doesn't make sense. You can't do 1 movie per banger ratio. That doesn't work. You gotta have way more bangers than that to justify 4 movies. There's no way that this is going to be something that I enjoy. I just can't fucking see it. Just make 1 movie. What happened to that? Bring back normal biopics.
Even if it's a really long movie, just make 1 movie. I don't understand why we have to make 4 movies about each Beatle. Is each Beatle important enough to get their own movie? I don't know a lot about the Beatles, but it just seems like a stretch. It seems like a stretch.
I mean, there's the one who got shot, and like that's cool. Make a movie about that, and then the rest of them, like, who cares? You know, like no
Okay, Roy,
disrespect,
do you want me to introduce
just
this? Are
some
you back with us,
disrespect.
Roy?
Yeah. Am I
Yeah,
back or am I
you're
glitching?
good. No, you're good. You're good.
Okay. Yeah. To that end, it just depends on what order the Beatles movies come out. God. Yeah, go ahead and introduce it, Tej. Sorry. I don't know what's happening with my computer, but introduce Hitman and hopefully my connection is good to go.
All right, so we're talking about Hitman. Obviously, it's a Linklater film. Our cast is why is it not showing me the cast easily? Obviously, Glen Powell, who plays the main character, it's his movie. Adria Arjona, who you might know from the greatest film of all time, Six Underground, Justice for Six Underground. Great film. You should watch it. And this is really like a two-hander. Like this is really their movie. Like this is the two of their movies. Austin Emilio plays Jasper, who's like a cop who's like the skeevy from the beginning. But it's really not a big cast. It's really just like really these three people because Glen Powell plays like 20 characters in this movie, basically. And so that's the cast. Can't find the budget. It looks like the budget was 8.8 million, and it had a kind of a weird history. It was shown at TIFF, and it wasn't really acquired by any of the major studios. So Netflix got it for $20 million. So that's why this is showing up on Netflix and not in theaters, is because Netflix went and acquired this out of the festival circuit for they only cost $8 billion to make, and he got $20 million from Netflix for the film. So obviously he's already made his money back. And like Royden said, we don't know how successful it's doing because it's on Netflix, but it seems like a lot of people have watched this, and it seems like that's mostly because of the power of Glen Powell, who's kind of in this moment after going to the Tom Cruise Academy for Movie Stars. It seems like a lot of people got their eyes on this movie. And I'm going to toss it to Dex to tell me what you thought about this movie, and then we'll see what Royden looks like.
Yeah, I'm all in on Glen Powell. I was going to watch whatever he did next between Anyone But You and Twisters. It's his moment. It's his era. So this movie could have been about literally anything, and I still would have been excited about it. And I had a great time. Like Glen Powell, like gets all the room in the world to just cook in this movie. They let him cook as the professor talking about philosophy and psychology or whatever it is that he's teaching. They let him cook as the cool undercover cop. They let him cook as the like nerd talking to his ex-wife. All of it. They just give him room, and they're like, Glen Powell, just talk at the camera, and it works every time. There's literally not a scene in any movie that I've ever seen with Glen Powell in it where him just talking at the camera doesn't work. So you get that here. I don't remember what you said her name was, but the leading woman in this movie, yeah, she was good enough. She's cool. She's hot. She's mysterious. She makes it work. The plot, I think, is interesting enough for a Netflix movie. Like you are dropped into the situation, you understand it pretty quickly enough. There's some good tension built in here and there, like, oh, what's going to happen next, blah, blah, blah. Perfectly fine, enjoyable movie. And then the ending happens and it just fucking sucks. The ending is awful. The ending is the easiest, most convenient, stupidest way for this movie to end. It just loses any semblance of like the based on a true storyness, or like it loses all thrill of what's about to happen next. It loses all like any moral dilemma that you might have is just gone. It's the ending of this movie. It absolutely stinks. This movie would have been in like the A tier for me before that ending, but the ending is just way too neat, way too tidy. It feels like Netflix was like, you know what? We don't want people to feel anything when they're done watching this movie. We want them to just have seen Glen Powell and then just not have anything to think about later. And so, yeah, that moves this movie down to like a B- for me. That ending is just so rough.
I'm sure as soon as I start talking, we're good right now.
Yeah, you go now.
Okay, as soon as I start talking, I'm sure this will go all the way. Go away. I think Richard Linklater is a very specific filmmaker who like knows his lane very well. I mean, he has branched out in the past. Of course, he does his broad comedy with School of Rock, and he has his romance films that are filmed in Europe, where two hot movie stars are gallivanting on a train across Europe. This is such a specific film in the vein of uh, sort of like Bernie that he did with Jack Black back in 2011. And I'm glitching, I think.
You
Let's
sound fine
see.
to us.
Yeah, sort of like Bernie. Okay, sort of like Bernie that he did back in 2011, where it's that true crime, but with a twinge of self awareness and black comedy. And I think just giving Glen Powell, like he wrote this movie, but giving him the lane to just cook and really branch out where he hasn't been asked to do. Like he's doing bits for the first half of the movie, and like an American Psycho bit, which I think is fucking hilarious. And he's really trying to branch out. I think the movie kind of falls apart when you ask your students to be like, why does our hot teacher look like that? You know what I mean? When it's just Glen Powell but wearing jorts. I think I would disagree that I think taking this movie and really turning it on its head, it does sort of feel like they didn't know how to land the plane, and it doesn't really ask a question at the very end. But I will give them credit in that it wants to maybe even present, like, flip the movie on its head is, I think, a really big swing for them to, like, oh haha, we have this sort of broad comedy, and then it becomes a really like black noir film. And I really appreciate it for taking the swing. Does it necessarily land towards the back half? I'm not quite sure, because it really does bullet train speed rush to the end. But I appreciate them for taking that swing. And I love when Linklater and Powell get together. If you haven't seen Everybody Wants Some, it's on Paramount. Do yourself a favor. You can tell early on that Linklater is like Glen Powell has it in that movie. You go back and you watch that movie, and it's like Glen Powell's on camera for like way more than any of the other dudes, and he gets all the best lines in the movie too. And I also think that Austin Emilio, who's also an Everybody Wants Some alum, does a really good job as the sleazy dirtbag cop. This movie, by the way, does not pull any punches about what it thinks about the police. So if you know Linklater's politics, that tracks. But I think Linklater does this very specific Southern Gothic, Houston, Louisiana, that area, and Texas. He's an Austin filmmaker. He literally just bases his stuff out of Austin. Doesn't live in Hollywood. But I think he does this so specific, and he knows the tone so specifically that every time he does it, this Everybody Wants Some, Bernie, Dazed and Confused, it works so well for me, and I will sign up for 10,000 of these movies if he keeps doing them. So keep making more films, keep doing the weird 20-year projects that you want to. I love what Richard Linklater does, especially with this sort of down to earth, not even gritty, but down to earth comedy style that he does with these films. These films are all just so like knowing of what they are, and I really appreciate that. And I think that Glen Powell obviously cooks. Adrian Arjona also, she might be top 10 dead or alive coming out of this movie. Like, good Lord. Like, it's
good Lord.
The sexiness on camera between those two is unreal. It's like there's a whole section, basically the second act is them being hot on camera together.
Yep.
Hell yeah. Thank you for that. That's cool. So all that to say, I am with Dex. I give this a B+. There was something there that could have pushed this movie over the top to be an A+ and in some of his best films. By the way, this has like a 97% on Rotten Tomatoes and like a 93 audience score. People love this movie. I do agree that there's there's a little pinch of salt in there that it needs to taste to bring it over
It
the
shouldn't
top.
be so easy at the end. Like it's just
Yeah.
too easy.
Yeah, and maybe it I think it asked the question of the audience of, well, how do you feel that they just I don't want to spoil it here. How do you feel that they got away with what they got away with? So I enjoy that. I know a lot of people don't. Tej.
I like this movie. I should have said it in the beginning. So this is basically the framework of this movie is based on a true story. There is an actual guy whose name was Gary Johnson, who was a professor and also worked with law enforcement in doing this particular thing, which was basically posing as a hitman and getting people arrested. That is the premise of this film. This film is also a rom-com, at least mostly a rom-com. There are some noir aspects of it, but it's a rom-com. And so I think that really saves the ending for me because it's a rom-com. And so rom-coms usually end in a clean, feel-good kind of way. Most rom-coms aren't dealing with things such as, what happens at the end of this movie, but it's still a rom-com at the end of the day, and I think it stayed true to it. I enjoyed watching Glen Powell. It's fascinating to me that he helped write this film. Him and Linklater wrote it together. So he's very much in the DNA of the character because he's helping write the script, obviously. And, for example, he does like a Jason Bateman impression for one of the characters he's using. And Jason Bateman is like one of the producers of the film. I like little Hollywood stuff like that. Watching this movie, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed watching Glen Powell just get to cook. And he has a whole part of the movie before Adriana enters the movie. And so he's really just doing bits. He's doing different costumes and different takes on different types of characters. He's a grungy guy. He's an upbeat, hyper guy. He's like doing all these random bits, and it's really fascinating to pop into that world and see him doing that. I also thought it was very fascinating that this movie kind of starts by telling you that like hitmen don't actually exist. We think they exist because we've watched hitmen in movies for our whole lives, but hitmen are basically like a movie invention, like kind of like zombies or one step removed from zombies. There aren't that many people out there in real life that are paid by strangers to go kill strangers and risk their whole life and risk their freedom to go kill strangers, especially at the low end of the economic spectrum like this movie. This movie is about a guy who's supposed to be a hitman who's just slumming it. He's taking any form of payment that you could give him. He's taking a couple $1,000s. Somebody offered him like a fucking boat. Somebody offered him like, they're offering him like random trade and stuff like, oh, you can come get some of my hogs. And it's like they're just paying him wherever. He's like, whatever, I'll do it. So there's no such thing as that.
Some kid tried to hire him with
to kill his mom. So this is not a thing that actually exists. And something about that really opened up the movie for me of like you're playing towards what people expect to see on the other side of the table from them. He literally says, I'm going to be your hitman. I'm researching you to figure out what your hitman looks like. What are your needs in a hitman? I thought that was a fascinating just look at the eyes of a man who's obviously in life at a point where he's kind of stuck. And so, the whole premise of this movie, at least not the outside the romantic premise, is basically like, can you improve your life? Can you become someone different? Can you become the person that you think that you are? And then we have this a really cool meet cute where he sits down with with Adriana's character, and she's going to hire him. But unlike all the other scumbags that he sat down with, she is not a scumbag because she is scared, she's nervous, and she's kind of trapped in a really bad situation. And there's no other, characters that he meets along the way that you feel any remorse for because they're all kind of pieces of shit in their own different ways. This woman is she's fucking drop dead gorgeous, which obviously does something to the viewer when she sits down. We've seen all these regular looking people in Louisiana sitting down across from him asking for crazy shit. Then this woman comes in. They've got great banter back and forth, and she's nervous, and she doesn't really, you can tell that she's in a situation, or at least she purports to be in a situation where she's in some danger, and she's only taking this as the last out of trying to establish her bit of freedom. And setting up the movie like that, setting up a rom-com like that is just such a cool setup. Like outside of the fact that these two actors have amazing chemistry together, setting up a meet cute like that is something I've never seen. I thought it was fascinating. Obviously, our second act is them having a steamy love affair. And my God, these two people have chemistry out of this world together in terms of their sexual chemistry on screen. She is obviously very good looking. He's obviously very good looking. But their chemistry, that doesn't mean that you're going to have chemistry. And there's scenes where they're having these chemistry moments where he meets her as a character, like he meets everybody as a character. So when he is meeting her subsequently, she is a character. Like Royden said, the cops are so stupid that they're not really figuring any of this stuff out. And I like the way they weave that narrative, and I really enjoyed watching it. Once you get to the end, I agree with y'all that it's not the best ending. It's like very clean, but like I said before, it's a rom-com, so I expected a clean ending that makes you walk away and you're just thinking about the love interest. And I thought I enjoyed it. That being said, I think Dex gave it a B-. I would give it the same. It wasn't something that was special to me, but I totally understand why it has 97% because Rotten Tomatoes is just, do you like it or do you not? And there are going to be very few people who sit down to watch this that won't like some aspects of it or won't like it. It's a fun movie. It's a good movie, and it's not something you're actively going to hate. It's something you're going to enjoy. And like a lot of Linklater movies, there's just a lot of people sitting in rooms talking. And I should say, y'all haven't said this yet. The scene at the end, the big finale scene, the climax scene, involves him going to her house. He's wired for sound because he's a cop. He's not a cop, but he's working with the cops. He's wired for sound, and they're trying to implicate her in a crime. He knows that they're trying to implicate her, but he's in love with her. So he shows up to her house. He's wired for sound. The cops are listening, but he has a notes app thing that he's showing her on his phone, notes from his notes app to tell her how to do her performance. And I was just completely captivated by that scene. It's so well acted. It's so creative. It's such a great idea. And both of them are kind of pitch perfect. They have like they're acting within a role. It's like a scene within a scene. And I was blown away by the chemistry. I was blown away by the execution, the blocking of the scene. You never feel like you don't understand what's going on. You see all the little notes that he's writing on his phone. You see them clearly. I just thought it was perfectly executed by the director, by the writers, and by the actors. That is movie making. Like, that is filmmaking to me. I gave it a B-, but I'm not low on the film at all. It is a rom-com that I enjoyed, that is lighthearted. I really like seeing these two people on screen. And Adria Arjona, if you're ever looking for a friend, a benefactor, a protector, please call me. Oh my God, that is a very gorgeous woman. I enjoyed it. I gave it a B-.
Yeah, like you said, hard not to enjoy this movie.
I will say,
go ahead, Roy. I'd rather you get it now, like where we can hear you.
No, my connection is lost. Go ahead. I'm gonna probably drop and come back.
Okay.
Yeah, it's hard not to enjoy this movie. A 97% on Rotten Tomatoes makes perfect sense. I can't imagine watching this movie and being like, nope, terrible, hated it. Like,
yeah, I hate this film. Why did I watch it? No one's gonna feel that way.
It's just an enjoyable, like, the ending makes it pretty disposable to me. It's not Anyone But You, right? Like, Anyone But You, it's pretty much straight rom-com, as rom-com-y as it gets. And I love that about it. It like mixes in some of the other non-rom-com stuff, and so the like typical rom-com ending just doesn't hit as hard as it could have, for me at least. So yeah, this movie ends up being pretty disposable, but I think, yeah, once in a few years when we're looking back on how Glen Powell is the new Tom Cruise, this will be one of the touch points that we talk about. Like, we'll go from Top Gun Maverick to Anyone But You to this, hopefully to Twisters, and we'll be like, what a fucking run. Like, that's when everything switched up. So
I watched this in the same weekend. I watched Hitman, I watched Anyone But You, and I watched Bad Boys 4. And Anyone But You was, by a full letter grade, the best movie I saw over that weekend.
Anyone But You is so good. I feel like we didn't spend enough time talking about
phenomenal. Yeah, I agree. I walked away thinking this. I was like, we didn't spend enough time talking about this movie. Like, it's just so, it's not perfect. The Gator stuff in the movie is really mixed for me, but like, it's just phenomenal. And what Sydney Sweeney is able to do in that movie is just, it's mind blowing. But the fact that you have Glenn Jacobs in two very different roles in Hitman and Anyone But You, next to two very different types of actresses, he's able to have that kind of chemistry, that raw sexual chemistry that he's got with Adriana here, and that more rom-com-y, even though it's a rated R rom-com, their particular relationship is not so like hot, sexy. There's some of that, but it's more like typical PG-13 rom-com kind of relationship where it's like you have cute moments, you have cute slander of each other because they hate each other, and it's like he can do both of those things. And to see him in these two very different roles alongside two very different leading ladies just shows like like what he can do. And it's because he doesn't take himself too seriously. And that, despite the fact that he's gone to the Tom Cruise School of Movie Stars, that makes him different than Tom Cruise. Because when you're watching Mission Impossible, there are jokes at Tom Cruise's expense, but not really. Like Tom Cruise plays it pretty straight. Like he takes himself seriously.
The jokes are at his expense, but he's not making the jokes.
Exactly. Someone else makes the joke and he allows it to be made. Versus Glen Powell is making fun of himself in these movies, and it just makes him so much more endearing. He's so good looking and so charming that for him to also be seemingly poking fun at himself in all these performances, it just adds that other layer on top. You know, he showed up to the premiere of this movie. He showed up to the premiere of Hitman. His parents were there with a sign that said like Glen Powell's never going to happen or something to that effect. Like he is just he is a prototypical movie star in all the ways that we define a movie star. He's good looking, he's white, he's tall enough, he makes fun of himself, and he can play different kind of roles. And putting this right next to anyone but you really, really heightened my experience for both films, just seeing what does he have in his bag. And he has a deep bag. And you're not going to be seeing, unless he goes full Jonathan Majors, which hopefully it does not happen. You're going to be seeing this guy as the leading man for a very long time, like a very long time.
Yeah, we're in the Glen Powell era now. If Twisters is good too, it's over, man. Like it's
over,
done.
bro.
Oh my god, it's so over. Like
it's going to be good. It's going to be real cinema. I have no doubts.
I'm trying to think of like a sports comparison of like Miles Teller. This could have been you, like you know. It's kind of like what people were trying to do with Luka Doncic and James Harden before Luka Doncic became the bum that he is in the playoff, in the NBA Finals, and is about to get swept. It's like Miles Teller, you were right there. You were in all the stuff. You did Whiplash. You
literally did Top Gun Maverick. You literally were in the Launching Point movie.
You were right there. This could have been you, and it just ain't. It's just not. Like you not like this. We have realized.
You know what messed up Miles Teller? He got caught up in Fantastic Four and Allegiant and Divergent. Like these are back-to-back years. That is those are not great films. People are mixed on Divergent, the first one, but Allegiant, like it's a mess, and that comes a year after that Fantastic Four movie, which stinks. And those kind of decisions and that kind of bad luck can derail your career, because that 2 years of two major blockbusters that stink are going to make us look at you in a weird way, unless you are her or him, unless you are Barbie level, like unless you are like, Barbie can come out and put out a couple movies that people don't go see because she also can give you Barbie. And Miles Teller never gave us a Barbie. Miles Teller never regrouped in that way.
He gave us Top Gun Maverick, but then he was like, you know what? I'm going to just not do any other work. I'll be at a Bud Light commercial or whatever. Like, and that's it. And Glen Powell was like, I'm going to show up in the lab every fucking day. I'm writing, I'm directing, I'm acting, I'm making out with Sydney Sweeney. Everyone thinks I'm in a real relationship with Sydney Sweeney. I'm going all in. And Miles Teller was like, you know what? I've done enough. I was in Whiplash. I was in Project X. I'm good.
You can tell that, like, I love that point, because you can tell that, like, when it comes to Powell, like, by the time he got his turn at bat, like when it was actually his turn, he didn't deviate from anything. He's just working. Like, he's just like, I'm just going to keep working. He's busy as hell. And like, I'm not just going to show up on screen to act. I'll also write. Like, that's fine. I'll also produce. That's fine. Like that work ethic is a part of it. But I also just think it's the kind of stuff that he's picking. He is about to be in what I have deemed on this podcast previously the most ethical sequel of our lifetime. Twisters is the perfect movie to make a sequel of. We're not going to be comparing him to the original Twister because it was fucking 30 years ago and it's a B movie. Everybody liked Twisters, but it's not like Twisters everybody's favorite film. So all you got to do is just make a solid, good movie, and bam, you scored. Anyone But You came out of nowhere. It's a rated R rom-com. That's not even a thing that exists. Like, that's not even a thing that you can make. And
He
they made a
brought
rated
back
R rom-com.
Shakespeare adaptations.
It's crazy.
We stopped doing that, and he was just like, you know what? Fuck it. Shakespeare adaptation. Me, Sydney Sweeney. We're going to Australia. We're gonna make this shit pop, and it did.
I am interested to
This is gonna go crazy.
I am interested to see how Glen, like, because Twisters is going to be like, it's a disaster film, but those films are action films.
Yes.
So I am interested to see how Glen's like specific, like charming, knowing face that he has does in that sort of disaster action movie epic, where it's like he's the smarmy guy in Top Gun, and those guys mostly have masks on anyway. But the sort of Glen Powell in Peril, I'm interested to see how he, like, that will prove to me, I think, this Twisters more so than anything, that he is like not only we know to be a really good self-aware actor, which we don't have a lot of, but like a really good self-aware actor, but an action star, which is a whole other, if you can transcend into that, like you said, you're in the Tom Cruise category, where it's like Tom Cruise was this brilliant actor who was nominated for Academy Awards. I don't think Glen Powell is getting nominated for anything for Hitman, but he goes from sort of this comedy heartthrob guy to action star. It transcends. It goes
the next
higher.
Stratosphere.
Yeah. So I wanted to get to this while the Lord has provided me internet for some reason. What do we think of taking the Gary Johnson story, which was a piece written by Skip Hollingsworth in Texas Monthly, which if you haven't ever read Skip Hollingsworth's work or listened to any of the podcasts that he's on, he's really like awesome Texas crime writer for Texas Monthly. He's a legendary journalist. The story of Hitman is pretty straightforward, actually. It's a wild story because they say this in the movie. Hitmen don't exist, really. And that's sort of the whole premise of the movie, is that they get him to trust him and he lives this whole double life sort of thing. What do we think about taking that whole premise and then just completely adding on to it? Obviously they probably did this with his estate. Gary Johnson, RIP&P, dead before the movie even came out. So what do we think about really flipping this whole thing on its head and adding to what would have otherwise been a really straightforward true crime thriller, obviously with elements of comedy, because the whole story is wild once you go back and look at it.
We should spoil here. This is where we should put the spoilers.
You go ahead.
Yeah. Dex, you go first.
So honestly, I had never read the original story, didn't know anything about it, didn't even know that this was based on a true story until I started watching the movie.
Based in Houston.
Yeah, shout out. Also, I didn't realize Richard Linklater was from Houston until like we started having this conversation.
Yep.
Went to Sam Houston State on a baseball scholarship, which is where Everybody Wants Some comes from.
Yeah, shout
Glen
out
Powell,
to him.
also an athlete. That's one of their bonding things. He said that in the interview. Like, they're both athletes. They both kind of approach their filmmaking kind of in the same mindset as an athlete. So they already have a bit of chemistry there from the beginning. They've been working on it for years, obviously.
But yeah, as far as like the premise of this and like the Hitman don't exist of it all, when they said that, I was like, oh, fucking duh. Like, I had never really thought, like, I haven't really spent any time interrogating the idea of Hitmen. But after someone tells you like they don't exist, you're like, oh yeah, that's the dumbest idea in the world. Why did I think that? Why did I think that was like that?
Movies.
That's just obviously not a thing that would exist. That's so fucking stupid. But yeah, I feel like I like that they didn't kind of limit themselves to like real reality. Like, obviously a lot of the stuff in this movie just would never actually happen to real people. So that's great. And like, you wouldn't have they show like the picture of Gary Johnson at the end and you're like, they got Glen Powell to play this guy. Like, what a stretch, man. Like,
I mean, that really is the whole, like, not even red herring. I'm trying to think of like the kind of mix up of the movie is that's just Glen Powell with a bad wig. You know what I mean? And so it's still Glen Powell.
That's a rom-com staple, that they take a hot person and then they somehow there's a swan moment where they become, oh shit, they're hot, and it's like, no, he was Glen Powell the whole time. Like those students would have been all over him from the beginning of the fucking movie, but it's a movie, so at the end they're like, oh my god, our teacher's hot, and it's like, yeah, he was Glen Powell the whole time.
For him, it was literally like he just took his glasses off and started talking slower, and like that was his transformation. But yeah, I think the movie, it is over the top and it is funny and it works. I think they did a good job of like keeping it in a place where like it doesn't ever feel too stupid to be watching. It's like, obviously none of this would happen in real life, but it makes sense to watch in a movie. Even like in the scene Teach was talking about, whether like he's wired for sound, but they don't have cameras, they like make sure to say that to you so you're not watching the movie like, what the fuck?
A great way to integrate cell phones into movies, which filmmakers hate doing now, by the way. I don't know if you know that.
Very creative way to do that.
So yeah, I think they did a good job of keeping this like based in reality. I don't know if that actually answers the question that you asked, but you kicked it to me first, so that's all I had.
Yeah, and Tej, maybe you could bounce off of that. I mean, the spoiler alert of the movie is they kill a cop at the end of this movie, and they get away with it, and that's what we've been hinting at this entire time. They kill a dirty cop. They want to make sure that he's a piece of shit, but like they kill a cop at the end of this movie, get away with it, and then they have an addendum at the end of the movie. You can almost barely see it. It's in the credits saying, "We made all of this, or this was a lot of his life, except for the killing the guy part. We made that one up." They have that in the credits.
Yeah.
So I'm just basically I'm asking, like, what do you think about the ending and like this whole romance and stuff? That it's like the premise is we're going to take this guy's radical life, which is crazy on its own, and then add more to it, which movies have done. But this seems like it really takes a huge leap from what actually happened.
Yeah, and obviously the romance at the center of the movie is also a movie creation. But we just took this guy's real life and his real occupation, and then we added a story to it. It's obviously fantastical that they killed the cop, and just like Royden said, this movie has a very, very low opinion of cops. And if the cops weren't literally the dumbest possible people of all time, the movie doesn't work. But because they are the dumbest people of all time, it allows the plot to unveil and go forward. But I like the fact that they kind of added on these fantastical elements, and I like the way that they ended the movie in terms of killing the cop. Knowing that would never happen in real life, I was perfectly fine with it. I didn't think like, oh shit, like this ending doesn't work. I just thought like, oh, okay, that's how we're ending our movie. Now we're going to show them with their kids, later in life, and we're going to, have some dinner conversation. I thought that was a good way. I had never read the original article either, but after I watched this, it made me go read the article because it's such a fascinating thing that like this guy is supposed to be an everyman. The whole point is that his face is forgettable. So like he can keep doing this. And the real character wasn't using a bunch of costumes and weird accent changes like Glen Powell's doing. He was just showing up as whatever character he was playing. And he always played that character and he always looked the same. Glen Powell is stretching it by having costumes and different looks. But, having someone that good looking playing an everyman that's by definition supposed to be forgettable is just like a Hollywood invention that we are immune to. Like, we don't even think about the fact that how can you get this super good looking guy who's fit to play somebody who's literally supposed to be forgettable the second he walks out of a room? There are some Hollywood actors that are forgettable faces, and they're kind of mousy looking. Barry Keoghan played this guy. It's a very different movie, but in some ways it makes more sense. But it wouldn't make sense that the hottest woman in the world is trying to sleep with him, and that part wouldn't work.
I disagree.
You gotta have the hottest woman in the world want to sleep with him.
The shiftiest face in Hollywood. I would immediately think that guy was a hitman.
But also, like, we're supposed to believe that the real Barry Keoghan and Sabrina Carpenter are together. Not buying it. Something right.
Not buying it.
I don't think people on the internet are actually buying it either.
Yeah, not sold. But yeah, also want to point out that they get away with killing two guys in this movie.
You're right. Her husband.
Yeah.
Well, he didn't kill her husband. She did, but he basically taught her how, unknowingly taught her how.
Just kind of insane and way too easy for them to get away with killing two separate people. One of whom I guess is like very rich, like and well connected or whatever.
And she gets the insurance money.
Cop. Yeah, like, it's just so easy, and then they just all live happily ever after. Which, like, yeah, definitely makes sense for a rom com, but like, come on, like, there's got to be, or at least if you're gonna get away with killing two guys, at least make it a little more conflicting. Don't make them the two worst people in the world who like it's easy to kill. You know, like give me some conflict here. Give me something.
Well, if you want a movie like that, I would highly recommend another Skip Hollingsworth story that he made. I actually have it on Blu-ray now, but Bernie with Jack Black and Matthew McConaughey's in that as well. It really, I think, does what you're asking for. In that it really, because the guy was convicted of murder of an old woman. So it's like it really does that thing where it's like, how do you feel about this? You know what I mean? This isn't so overt in that, but at the end, it does kind of point the camera back at you and say, you know, we really going to let them get away with that? I guess.
And it's like, yeah, we are. Like,
Yep.
They killed two of the worst people in the world. It's fine.
Yep. No. So while I still have, I'm still on Bill Gates's internet. I would. Do we have anything else to talk about this movie? You will do worse than on a Friday night sitting down with your significant other and watch it. You'll have a great time watching this movie. I don't want us to come away thinking that like we didn't appreciate. I make 10 more of movies like this. This is all I'm asking.
Let Glen Powell cook. Just do it.
Tej, you can carry this as long as you want to. You don't have to spoil Bad Boys or whatever, but give your thoughts on the Bad Boys and what you got yourself into on the internet with the Bad Boys rankings.
So the Bad Boys, the Bad Boys 4, the actual takes of what people think about the movie are so all over the place, in my opinion. Most people acknowledge that it's good. And I agree, it's good. I enjoyed it. It's a good time. But it's like, it's just good. It's just a good action movie. It's not anything amazing or spectacular, or at least that's what I thought. But apparently a lot of people actually think it's amazing and spectacular. I had a number of issues with the plot, and I know it's a big dumb action movie. And as someone who loves big dumb action movies, I still have a lot of issues with the plot. I still have a lot of issues with some of the things in the movie, but it's a good time. It's a great time at the box office. I just want everybody to put a little bit of respect on Bad Boys, the original Bad Boys movie. This is not me saying this. Will Smith has literally said the reason that Will Smith, the movie star, as we know him, exists is because he met Michael Bay and he was in Bad Boys. Remember that Bad Boys came out a year before Independence Day. Will Smith, the movie star, did not exist before he took his shirt off on that bridge in Bad Boys.
If you heard that story that Michael Bay has said, right?
Yes, like Michael Bay tells the story of like Michael Bay, who is the ultimate framer of movie stars, framed Will Smith as a movie star. And it told us, the public, that this guy is a movie star, right? That is instrumental to Will Smith's career and the way that we see him.
The story goes that he wanted him to take his shirt off when they're running across the bridge or whatever, and the explosions are going off. And he said he just refused. He refused. Will Smith refused. And by the way,
it wasn't a part of his brand at that time.
Yeah, in great shape. Yeah. And he's like, no. Well, he's like, well, unbutton the shirt. How about we leave the shirt open? They cut the scene. They go to Video Village. They do it. It looks fantastic. And Michael Bay got real mad and looked at Will Smith and said, I just made you a fucking movie star.
And he's right.
Yeah.
God love Michael Bay. Anyway, you cannot take that part out of the DNA of the first film. It's the original idea. It's the original sauce. It's Will Smith literally at his precipice when he's becoming the Will Smith that we now know today. It's undefeated as a film. It's a perfect film. It's right up there with all the other action cop movies. It's up there with the original Die Hard. It's up there with any of the Die Hard movies, any of the Lethal Weapon movies. It is up there. It is real cinema. And I know that I am a Michael Bay apologist and a Michael Bay stan, but it is perfection. Bad Boys 2, really good movie. Bigger movie, not a better movie. 20 minutes too long. Still a lot of fun. And in my opinion, which a lot of people don't agree, but a lot of people do agree, still a full letter grade above the third best Bad Boys movie, which is Bad Boys 4. Right? We're still talking, no disrespect to the new filmmakers who made Bad Boys 3 and 4. Well, a lot of disrespect to them for Bad Boys 3 because that movie fucking stinks. But Bad Boy 4 is good. And they made a good movie. Like, I'm not shitting on it at all. But y'all who are out there on the internet, especially those of you that are of age, out there on the internet, putting this movie above Bad Boys 2 or, God forbid, Bad Boys 1, you need to go do your fucking research. If Bad Boys 1 doesn't exist, we don't get Will Smith that we got. And I have had so much fun listening to people all over the internet talk about the career of Will Smith in this week because obviously we've seen a lot of Will Smith. There's a clip of Will Smith when he was on Hot Ones talking about Michael Mann. And this is the point I really want to make because my perfect Will Smith would be him talking about filmmaking for 3.5 hours and me listening to it because he's so smart about what it takes to create a blockbuster movie. He talks about Michael Mann. He said Michael Mann is the greatest protector of the magic that you create. Every movie that you've ever seen, all you're seeing is a compilation of the things that happen between action and cut. However that lasts is when you create the magic. And we do these scenes and we mix them together. Boom, we got a movie. Will Smith said that Michael Mann is the greatest protector of the actor's experience between action and cut that he's ever seen. He tells a story of filming Ali, a Michael Mann movie. Good movie. Not even an amazing movie. Great performance. Obviously, Will Smith's career is kind of broken down into two dichotomies, and it's always been like this. He's making a summer blockbuster or he's making a movie to win an Oscar. Ali was obviously a movie to win an Oscar. He did not win the Oscar because Denzel happened to be making Training Day in the same year. Tough luck. Like, it happens. Also, Training Day is a better movie than Ali. No disrespect. I love Michael Mann. I love Will Smith. I love everybody. Training Day is a better movie, and it's a more memorable movie and more memorable performance. Anyway, Will Smith was trying to win an Oscar. He was trying to win that Oscar for fucking 20 years before he won it for King Richard. You can name 20 movies that he did trying to win an Oscar. He never was able to do it. He finally did it with King Richard. He slapped somebody. We all know the story of Will Smith.
What?
No.
He did what?
By the way, also not the first time Will Smith has slapped someone in public, but we always forget. This time he slapped a famous person at the Oscars, so obviously it's very different. Anyway.
In front of God and everybody else.
In front of God and country. And we were there. Y'all know we were watching. We were there.
God, Amy Schumer, and everybody.
Will Smith has often been criticized for not taking the interesting roles. He most notably turned down The Matrix, and he turned down Django to make Wild Wild West. Like, we know who Will Smith is because it's either there's one of two things you're making. You're making a blockbuster or you're making an Oscar nominee movie, and he didn't see The Matrix as a blockbuster, and he didn't see Django as a blockbuster or an Oscar nominee. So it's not in the calculus, so I'm not going to do it. Will Smith has said that he spent his whole career making movies that came out in the summer that you can take your whole family to, his whole career. His entire career. I want to have a movie that's out that you can take your whole family to. Love Django. One of my favorite movies ever. You can't take your kids to Django. You can't. It would be a horrible experience for those children. Love Will Smith. It was hard for him to look at the script and believe that a movie with this many hard ideas, this many weird fucking ideas, this fucking weird conspiracy shit is going to be a blockbuster. It was a blockbuster. It happened to be the coolest movie ever made, but he didn't know that from the script, and that's a miss, and that's fine. I think the career of Will Smith is so fascinating. And I think that what Bad Boys 4 does effectively, and it does not do everything effectively, is it leverages the fact that we know Will Smith, the movie star, is going to get you into the theater, but it's not really Will Smith's movie. It's probably more Martin's movie. And I think that is something that they've done that we've never seen in the series before. It's really more Martin's movie. And every time I see Will Smith, I can't help but think about I've been watching this man on screen since I was a kid. He dominated TV, then he's dominated film for the past 25 years. Bad Boys 4 is fine. We're going to make more Bad Boys movies. I'm glad that we're back on track. Thank God, because I walked into that theater with very low expectations. Bad Boys 4 is a solid 3-star movie that you will not hate yourself for going to see. And it has set us up to where we can now make a Bad Boys 5, Bad Boys 6, and I'm happy about that. But let's please have some respect for how we got here, which is Bad Boys 1 mostly, and also Bad Boys 2. And y'all out there on the internet, stop putting this new movie above Bad Boys 1 and 2. It just shows your ignorance. Bad Boys is the reason why Will Smith exists today. Please stop. That's it.
Speaking of things that need to stop on the internet, I've seen a couple people here and there tweet things to the effect of Will Smith is a more versatile actor than Denzel Washington.
Oh,
Or
this
Will Smith
conversation.
Yeah, what the
is
fuck
a
are people
better
doing?
actor than Denzel Washington. And I just need you to shut the fuck up when grown people are talking. All right.
Facts.
Be an adult. All right. If you watch a Denzel Washington movie, like, I don't know, Equalizer 3, and you see that movie and you think, you know, this is the same character as Macbeth, or this is the same character as the guy he played in Fences, who is also the same character as the guy he played in Training Day, who was also the same character as the guy he played in insert any other Denzel Washington movie. You're just not a grown, serious person, and you need to shut the fuck up when grown, serious people are talking. That's
Y'all
all
have
I'm saying.
seen 6 Denzel movies, and you're on the internet talking crazy. Y'all haven't seen Mo Better Blues. Y'all haven't seen Philadelphia. What the fuck are y'all on the internet talking about? This
John
guy
What are we
Q.
doing?
This guy played in a Macbeth movie, and it was unlike anything I've ever seen before. Anything I've ever seen before in the world of Shakespeare, and anything I've ever seen before in the world of Denzel Washington. What the fuck are y'all talking about? Please do not disrespect our legends in that way. You can big up Will Smith without lying about Denzel. Please stop that, bro.
Will
not a
Smith would
huge-
tell you to your face that Denzel Washington is 3 times the actor he is. Like,
In fact, it seems like he's been chasing him his entire career.
What are y'all talking about? He was in Philadelphia. You think the guy in Philadelphia is the same as the guy in Man on Fire? What are we talking about?
like literally the biggest achievement of Will Smith's career, which also coincided with like the one of the worst moments of his life. He was like Denzel Washington was big bro in this moment. Like, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yes,
like there's
facts.
levels here. Like,
Well, I think the he just acts as himself argument is so weird because it's like mostly Denzel in the way that Tom Hanks kind of does the same thing in that like they play everyman a lot of the time unless he's doing Shakespeare and so on and so forth. It's a normal guy put into extreme situations a lot of the times. And, you know, except for the case of, you know, Equalizer or Man on Fire, where he has a certain set of skills sort of thing, where it's like, but it's like when he's that's what a movie star is. And I think we've kind of lost that in the Discord is that we're watching a guy. They all actors have their quirks unless they're doing like a bit character like Leonardo DiCaprio the entire time. Nobody knows what Leonardo DiCaprio is like because he hasn't played Leonardo DiCaprio in any film. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah,
Where it's like,
that's why I hate that. He only plays himself. Y'all don't know these people.
y'all
You
don't know
you don't
him.
them.
yeah,
Y'all don't know him.
yeah. I just think that like certain actors that play these everyman characters, of course, they're going to bring parts of their own personality into these roles. You know what I mean? But I just think that it's just disingenuous to the talent of Denzel, and also, you know, yeah, you don't have to put down Denzel to bring up like Will Smith if that's what you're trying to do. And also, by that same notion, you're saying that Will Smith isn't the same Will Smith in like 90% of the blockbusters that he's been in.
Yeah, I feel like
what?
that's the other thing. It's like, okay,
It's because he played a drunk in Hancock one time that he's not playing in, you know? Like what?
Yeah, one time he played Will Smith, who was poor.
Yeah.
he spent an entire movie talking to his own son like he was a poor person. So that's acting skill right there. But Denzel Washington doing Macbeth, I mean, who could be expected to know anything about that? Like, what are we talking about?
I'm not a huge fan of the Macbeth movie, mostly because it's like I'm too dumb for Shakespeare. I've accepted that in my life. You know what I mean? I'm just I'm just so stupid, and it's nothing to do. But I did go back and I watched that tomorrow scene. Creeps on at its glacial pace or whatever it is, and what he's talking about after Lady Macbeth dies, and I was like, God damn, I might have to revisit this actually.
He's so good. Yeah, that's definitely a movie you have to watch with subtitles, which I guess is why movie Twitter just didn't appreciate it. But yeah, dude, Denzel's the GOAT. Like, I'm sorry, I won't entertain other opinions. Like, okay, I guess you can have another GOAT. That's fine. But saying Will Smith is a better actor than Denzel Washington, I love Will Smith as much as the next guy. Absolutely fucking not. We're not doing that. I'm sorry.
So
Also,
Yeah.
having a signature move in like as an actor does not mean all your roles are the same. Like, yes, Denzel
Facts.
Washington has a go-to like ranting like pace and cadence delivery that he does. I mean, Michael Jordan got the fucking the
The
layup
fadeaway.
hand
Like,
switch. Kobe got the fadeaway. Harden got the step back. You know what I'm saying? That doesn't mean all their plays are the same just because like they got this one signature move in the bag that works every fucking time. Have some respect. All right.
Like
Luka
Luca has that.
Luka
Luka has
has
that
the
move where he
blow
just
by.
lets people walk by him.
Yeah.
They just let
Yeah.
people go right by him. I mean, that doesn't mean that he's not a talented player at times, but his signature move he's been doing all finals is just here, just go to the rim. I don't care. It's like you can do what you want to.
Luka has the complain to the refs. What a great move.
You'll love to see it.
Very watchable and good to watch that kind of basketball as we're seeing.
It's what I want to teach my children about the game.
Listen, Dallas Mavs, you're ruining the NBA Finals. I'm happy to see you lose, but I at least picked the Celtics in 5 because I expected y'all to get at least one game. But I should have never trusted that fat white man, and for me, that's my fault. That's my. You guys are embarrassing yourselves. You're throwing up all over your fucking shoes on national TV every fucking night. And as much as I am enjoying that, the general public is not enjoying that. They want to see more games. I love seeing Tim Hardaway finally get some minutes and look like complete shit. Love it.
Tim Hardaway, Maxi Kleber, all of them. Like
all of them.
I think
Let him
Tim
get some
Hardaway
burn.
has played 6 minutes and has like a plus minus of like -50.
I can't get over the fact that like the Boston Celtics spent pretty much an entire quarter actively trying to lose that game, and Luka Doncic was like, "You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna try and take a charge at the 3-point line with 5 fouls." Like, what are you doing, man? Fucking move! Like, what are we talking about?
What a fucking loser.
It's time for me to play some defense. It's Luka time.
What my team needs right now when I have 5 fouls is for me to play some very aggressive defense on the perimeter. That's exactly what they need with 4 minutes left.
Go out there and make it about you.
And Kyrie Irving, who had his best game of the series by far, he has 4 minutes. They're down 4 or 5 points, whatever they were down when Luka gets fouled out, and then he just didn't fucking do anything else the entire rest of the game.
Yes, he did. He got locked up by Al Horford on the perimeter.
This man took the most.
Al Horford is 87 years old.
He's been old the entire time he's been in the league. Like, there was never a point where I can remember it being like, yeah, Al Horford, rising young star. Like, no, he's always been. He came into the league a wily veteran. Like, that shit is insane. Good for him.
Anyway, all right, that has been our Hitman episode. Go watch it on Netflix. You can find us at One Take. Actually, what are y'all watching, real quick?
We're watching The Boys. And
that just came out.
The Boys is back, and also we're watching House of the Dragon this weekend. I've already completed my WeWatch, as I told y'all. Real TV is fucking back. This whole summer, we're getting real TV, and I'm just could not be more excited as a TV boy. I'm not as much of a TV boy as I am a movie boy, but this summer I will be both. I will be doing everything. Also, I watched Inside Out again, so I can watch Inside Out 2 this weekend. And it fucking broke me just like it did the first time, just like it does every time. Perfect film, no notes, literally a perfect film. And man, that is the Pixar that I miss. And I'm already hearing great stuff about Inside Out 2. I will be seated, and Pixar needs one. Not for me.
They need
I'm a Pixar boy. Like I have been enjoying the Pixar mid-period, and I fucking love Toy Story 4. So I can make Incredibles 7 and Toy Story 19. I will be there. So not for me. But they need one, and it looks like they're going to do very well. And I just want you guys to remember that Inside Out is a perfect film. And RIP to Bing Bong. That's it.
I can't wait for the discourse on Twitter for whatever happens in Inside Out 2, regardless of it, to be like Pixar continues with another woke fest in Inside Out 2.
Oh, you know that's coming.
This character is about a little girl. Woke.
Yeah. She goes through puberty. She thinks about boys. Woke.
Yeah. Anxiety doesn't exist. It's a myth made up by the libs.
Yeah, this summer I the noted TV hater on this podcast, will be watching a lot of TV. House of the Dragon, I'm right back. I'm in, locked in every week. The Bear, I'm in, locked in. We'll
The
probably
Bear,
get
I
through
will
in
be there no
2
matter what.
sittings. I'm back. They can't get rid of me. They crank that shit out like they used to in the olden days. I feel like we just
restoring the feeling.
We are so
we
back.
just got season 2 not that long ago, and they're like, "We're right back, baby."
We're even getting
not gonna
Severance
leave you
season
hanging.
2. They're almost done filming Severance season 2. We are so back. TV
They
is
have
back.
put out 3 The Bear seasons since the last Severance season came out.
They really
What the
have.
fuck are they doing over there?
I appreciate the Bear being like, "Yeah, we know we left you on a cliffhanger with our boy in the freezer. Here's the teaser poster. It's a fucking freezer. We're starting this. We're starting the new season 30 seconds after the end of season 2."
It's very Mad Max in that way. It's just Mad Max Furiosa in that way. This is the next day.
No, Mad Max Furiosa made $4 million at the box office last week.
And they dropped it from like 800 theaters.
That's insane. That's legitimately insane. Legitimately insane. And you're not going to see very many people that have anything bad to say about that movie who actually saw that movie. But we are the only 3 people in America who saw that movie.
Apparently, yeah.
I Taylor Joy, we will be back. Hit up Margot Robbie. She'll tell you how to bounce back from a flop.
Facts.
Yeah.
From a flop worth 3.
Well, you're going to have to go make a toy movie. So Polly Pocket movie, I'm going to go do that.
Anya Taylor Joy is Polly Pocket. Let's make it happen.
She's got the Mario thing. It's the check cash for Anya Taylor.
I keep forgetting that she's in Mario. She's fine.
Princess Peach.
I totally forgot that.
Anya Taylor Joy is the draw 4 card in Uno. do what you gotta do.
I'll also be watching a lot of TV. I watched, what did I watch? Slapshot for the first time. Old hockey movie with hold on. Why am I forgetting the most handsome actor of all time, with Paul Newman? And boy, could you not make that movie. I don't want to be that guy, but you could not make that movie today. Although the hilarity does ensue in that film. But it's it's on Netflix if you want to watch it, Slapshot. But yeah, so I'll be watching some TV. I think, guys, I'm going to do it. I think I'm going to start my Hot D watch.
Join us. Thank you.
Yeah. Join us, brother. Wait, that's right. You haven't watched any of it.
I've watched 3 episodes and I was like, okay.
No, you gotta let it cook, bro.
It's real fucking TV. We need a good word for television, but like it's real, whatever that is.
Real, real television. That doesn't. Yeah, you're right. We'll workshop it. All right, that has been a One Take Podcast. You can find us at One Take Pod, One Take Pod on Twitter, at One Take Podcast Show on YouTube to stream these episodes live as they happen when my internet decides to work. But thank you so much for liking, downloading, subscribing, and rating the show. That really goes a long way if you're listening. Thank you so much. We will try to get to Inside Out 2 before Dex goes gallivanting across the greater Australian continent. But country? It's both?
It's both.
Fury Road.
It's both.
It's called Fury Road.
Yeah, before you take the Fury Road, we will try to get to Inside Out 2 before then.
Me.
Yeah. And besides witnessing you, Dex, who else are we witnessing?
Hashtag support Florence Pugh all day, every day.
All right. We will try and edit this episode as